So I have 3 cups of water. You can just get 1 cup of water as long as you're near enough to a sink that you could dump it out and fill it up again. So 3 cups of water, 1 cup with some oil, salt, and sugar. So I have a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, I have water, I have oil. So if you want to do it with me, then you can do it with me. If you don't want to, you can just watch. So you can just watch me do it if you want to. All right, there is a document that I posted in your Science Google Classroom that has a space for you to do some predictions. So in that classwork for science, there's a document for you to be able to do the predictions. So it says directions and predictions for water labs. And so if you're on a computer and you want to type that up as you go, that's fine. You can also just kind of type it in later, not a big deal. So we are doing the first page where it says, take 3 clean dry cups and fill each half full with tap water. Take a clean dry spoon, so we're going to follow all those directions. And what I want you to think about, we're going to do each one in order. No, you don't have to do it now, Alexis. So it might just be helpful for you to think about each one as we go. So if you're ready, if you're ready to go and you had wanted to get things ready, then can you click the agree button? And if you are just going to watch me, you can also click the agree button. So if you're also just planning on watching and not doing, you can click the agree button. Okay, that looks like most of us. So if you're still, Alex, question? Your hand is up. We're just here. We're here for science and then social studies. Yes, canola oil works. Science at 1 and social studies at 1:30. Okay, so we are going to start with 1 of our cups of water and salt. So you can type in the chat if you're just watching. What do you think will happen when I stir in a teaspoon of salt? So I'm going to stir in a spoon of salt into the water. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it will dissolve? Do you think it will mix in completely? Do you think it will stay in little crystals? Do you think that it will make it cloudy? What do you think is going to happen when I stir in the salt? Okay, so I'm going to take 1 spoon of salt and I'm putting it into my water. Okay, and now I'm going to stir for 1 minute. So if you put salt in your water, you're going to stir with me for 1 minute. Sorry, salt. Okay, but 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so what do you notice? Type, what do you notice? Especially if you're just watching me and not doing it yourself. What do you notice? It's a little bit cloudy. Okay, so if I compare it to, this is my regular water, this is water with salt. Okay, so it looks like it pretty much dissolved. There's some stuff in there. Okay, next one. So I did salt. So I did my salt. And now I'm going to do my sugar. Okay, so I'm going to get a teaspoon of sugar. I'm going to put it in my glass of water. If you're using the same glass, you can dump out the water. So dump out the water, get new water. So if you're using the same glass, dump out the water, get new water. Okay. So I'm going to put in my sugar. And stir for 1 minute. Okay, let's do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Alexis, you can, it doesn't really matter. You can just share your experience then as opposed to, okay, so what do you notice now? So this is my sugar. What do you notice? Looks like water. I bet these taste different though. This is my salt. This is my sugar. And yeah, it looks like they both dissolved completely. You don't want me to drink it? Okay. So they both pretty much dissolved completely. So that is because they are polar molecules. So did you drink it? So a polar molecule has a positive side and a negative side, just like magnets. So magnets have positive sides and negative sides. And so when they attract to other substances, they attract to the positive and negative sides of those substances. So on water, the hydrogen sides are positive and the oxygen sides are negative. And so they attract themselves to other molecules that have positive and negative sides. And so they're basically like they're just attracting to one another. So water likes to stick to itself, and water also likes to stick to other things. So water likes to stick to lots of other things. I can see that there is like a slight different color difference in my sugar than my salt, and I see on my salt there's some pieces that didn't totally dissolve and like lots of bubbles. So the salt does tend to be a little bit cloudier. My sugar, because I used like my natural sugar, so it has some brown coloring in it. It's not totally white, so it looks just slightly off color. It's like slightly yellow, my cup. Okay, so now if you're using the same cup, you're going to dump that out. Here you get a new cup of water. So now I have a new cup of water. New cup of water. And I am going to take some oil. So any kind of oil, yeah, that makes sense, Sterling. Any kind of oil works. So I am going to put some oil into my water. Do you think the oil will mix in? Will it dissolve like the salt and sugar, or will something else happen? What will happen if it's not? You're saying no. What do you think is going to happen? Separate. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stir, because with the other ones, my salt and my sugar, they didn't do anything until I stirred. So I'm going to stir my oil and water. Still a minute. Let's do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what do you notice about my oil and water? What do you notice about my oil and water? There's all these bubbles in it. So, and not bubble air, but bubbles of oil. Where is the oil mostly in the cup? If you're doing this with me at home, you might be able to tell me, where's the oil in the cup? Is it all throughout? Is it at the bottom? Or is it on top? Yeah, it's on top. Okay, so you can kind of see that there's a layer of oil on top, maybe, in my picture. Good. Okay, so now we see how the water and salt dissolved. We see how the water and sugar dissolved. We see that the oil did not mix in with the water completely. It kind of looked like it might, but it all just sort of separated. So now we're going to do another one with just oil. So if you've been using water this whole time, you can dump out your water and you can, well, go look for the charger, Jason. And you can get a little bit of oil. You don't need too much. Get a little bit of oil if you're doing this with me. So now I'm going to stir in some salt into the oil. What do you think is going to happen? Is it going to dissolve? You can go get stuff, Lucy. Is it going to dissolve or is it not? What do you think? What do you think is going to happen with the oil and salt? Is it going to dissolve? Is it some of it going to dissolve and not all of it? Is it going to separate? Is it going to, I don't know, become hard? Is it going to become like a different texture? What's going to happen with the oil and the salt? So will it dissolve? Will it not dissolve? What might happen? I want to see some more guesses. What do you think? No. I'm going to wait for guesses. Tell me your predictions. Dissolve or not? Or partial? Or change texture? Yep, maybe it will sink. Good. Oh, see, that was not so hard to give me some guesses. Okay, so I'm going to take my salt. I'll take my salt and I am going to mix some into my oil and you can see what happens. Okay, so what do you notice about the oil? What do you notice about the oil and salt? I am not drinking it. Abdullah, do not drink it. That's, no. So some of it is on the bottom. Can you look? Some of it is on the bottom. And some of it is kind of like suspended in the water a little. It's very cloudy. You can see it. Okay. So why does the salt sort of just hang out in the oil? Why is it not dissolving? Because it's just suspended in the oil. Like it's in the oil and it's all mixed up. So it's all mixed up, but it's not dissolved. So why is it not dissolved? It's a good guess, Lucy. It's definitely thicker. It's not, that's called the viscosity of a liquid. It's a science term for the viscosity of a liquid. Oil has thicker viscosity. Alexa, speak in real words. Okay, so the reason is because, like I just said before, Jack, same. The reason that I said before was that water and salt and water and sugar, water, salt, and sugar are all polar substances. So they are all polar substances. They have a positive side and a negative side, so they attract each other like magnets. Oil is nonpolar, so it does not attract itself to other things. It doesn't like to attract anything. It purposefully repels, just like if you were to take two magnets and stick them opposite sides together, and you like can't force them to touch, so they won't connect. That's what, yeah. So that's, oil does not dissolve nicely. It just sort of stays on your skin. It just stays on the top of things. So it does not work well with others, which can be useful when you're cooking because it prevents stuff from sticking. So it can be useful, but oil is non-polar. So what would happen if I mixed oil with sugar? You can just dump it in the sink, Lucy, and rinse it out. It's liquid oil, so it'll be fine. The same thing as what, Abdullah? So what would happen if I mixed oil and sugar? What would happen if I mixed oil and sugar? Yeah, the sugar does not dissolve. And if you want to do that to test it out, you can. If I try to mix oil with sugar, I'm just going to use the same cup. But if I try to do that, it doesn't, it kind of suspends. It kind of suspends, but it doesn't, yeah, I just put it in the same cup. It kind of suspends in it, but it doesn't actually mix. Like, it's mixed in, but it's not dissolved. So I think you guys can maybe see all the little like particles in there. If you've baked where part of the recipe was oil and sugar, which a lot of recipes have oil and sugar together to start, and you mix it up, you'll notice that they don't actually like blend super well together. Like, you're mixing them together so that they're not separate, but they don't become like one substance. You can still distinctly see that like the sugar has just sort of become like that. Yeah. Yeah, so the oil and the sugar, they like kind of mix, but they don't dissolve. So it doesn't completely dissolve into something. Which is interesting. Okay, so what I want you guys to do in the next, like you only have about 5 minutes before social studies. I just want you to find that document. Eating an egg is not vegan. Find that document of directions and predictions. And on the very first page, you can write what your prediction was and whether you were right or not.